Beckner Advancement Fund External Grant Information Session. Today's webinar will run from 12 to about 1 p.m. We might get off a little early today. The webinar recording will be available afterward for all registered attendees. Due to the number of participants, everyone's microphone is currently muted, so please feel free to use the comment box for any comments and questions that you have throughout the webinar. So my name is Jaleesa Whitley. I'm the Program Officer for the Beckner Advancement Fund. I'll be facilitating today's webinar and will also be available for continued conversation after today's session if you have any additional grants-related questions. We will have a Q&A at the end of today's session, and again, the webinar recording will be available. The quickest way to reach me is by email at ascu.beckner@gmail.com. So you'll see that email address on the screen. But I'm also always happy to connect by phone or in person as well. So today we'll spend an hour together to both share information about the Beckner Advancement Fund and also provide an opportunity for you all to ask questions about our work and our grant process. So about the first 20 to 30 minutes will be information. Feel free to comment during, so don't feel like you have to hold all your questions. And then the last 30 minutes are open for Q&A. We don't have to use all of that time, but I wanted to make it available to everyone. So we'll start by reviewing the history of the Beckner Advancement Fund, how we were endowed, and provide a quick overview of our structure. We'll then go into our vision and values that give grounding to our work and the partnerships we're hoping to build through our grants. I'll then give an overview of our current grant opportunities and eligibility criteria. So this is probably the part that most folks are interested in. And then finally, we'll discuss what we're looking for in grant partners, our process and timeline, and then end with Q&A. Are there any questions before we get started? Great, not seeing any questions, we'll dive in. So the history of the Beckner Advancement Fund. The Beckner Advancement Fund is a social justice philanthropic initiative housed within All Souls Church Unitarian, a Washington, D.C. church with a long history of working for social justice and fighting against oppressions of all kinds. Our work is grounded in the Unitarian Universalist spiritual beliefs and the inherent worth and dignity of all people, and our commitment to dismantling racism and other forms of oppression, both in individuals and institutions. For almost 2 centuries, the All Souls congregation has worked to make our city, our nation, and our world more just and compassionate. All Souls members Earl and Meta Beckner endowed the Beckner Advancement Fund in 1973 after selling a number of rental properties in Alexandria, Virginia. They envisioned the funds as a way to create a more collaborative, attractive, and forward-looking community that fosters human rights and dignity and enhances the influence of All Souls in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Today, although Earl and Meta Beckner are no longer with us, we carry out their vision through our grants process where we give internal and external grants of between $70,000 and $100,000 each year, depending on how the market is doing, to support efforts that advance our social justice mission. So our committee, the Beckner Advancement Fund, is an endowed fund that's housed within All Souls Church under the direction of our Board of Trustees. The Beckner Advancement Fund Committee is a committee of that board made up of 9 All Souls members who serve 3-year terms and are responsible for reviewing grants and making recommendations to the full Board of Trustees. As the Beckner Advancement Fund's first program officer, I'm responsible for grants management, strategy, relationship building, and the day-to-day operation of the fund. So you'll see here, we have 2 co-chairs, Craig Dillon Wyatt and Karen, and then we have 7 general members, and then addition to me, and that makes up the Beckner Advancement Fund Committee. Over the past few months, the Beckner Advancement Fund has been doing some strategic planning about our unique value in the community and the kinds of organizations we are best suited to support. That work has resulted in our updated vision and values, which you can find on our website and which I'll briefly go over today. For those who've applied for Beckner Advancement Fund grants in the past, the biggest shift in our work is a move away from requiring applicants to focus on a specific set of social justice issue areas. So previously we had priority areas such as affordable housing, immigration, peace and reconciliation, among others. And we're moving away from that in service of allowing communities to define what issues are the most pressing in our community. And so those can bubble up from the ground up. And what we're moving toward is investing in organizations whose vision, work, and approach align with our own. So we're looking to invest in grassroots organizations that are led by and/or center the voice of historically disenfranchised people, organizations that are community-driven, and are implementing new and/or innovative strategies to entrench social problems. So to give you more of a sense of what that looks like both internally to our work and externally to the partnerships we hope to build, I'll go through some of the values that are guiding our work in grant making. The first is wealth redistribution. So we understand that the wealth we steward does not exist in a vacuum. It was amassed as a result of intentional policy choices that at times excluded and profited from Black and Indigenous communities. Therefore, our goal is to think creatively about how we can redistribute the wealth that we steward in ways that prioritize the needs and aspirations of impacted communities. Community-centeredness. We want to partner with organizations that are deeply rooted in their communities. We believe that the best solutions to enduring social problems come from the people who experience them firsthand, and that community power building and shared decision-making are at the root of sustainable and truly transformative change. Justice. We understand that structural racism and oppression contribute to poor outcomes for people of color, women, low-income communities, LGBTQIA communities, certain faith communities, and people with disabilities. Therefore, we aim to invest in systemic solutions that create equitable opportunities for these communities to thrive. We know that our small grant funds alone are not enough to create systemic change, but we hope that the flexibility of our funds allow organizations to try new and innovative things that can help accelerate the systemic change that they're making in their work. Being a catalyst. We recognize that we have relatively modest resources to bring to bear in addressing significant societal challenges. But we hope that our resources can be used to seed new initiatives and accelerate the expansion of existing projects that use fresh perspectives to social justice work, which may have difficulty getting funds elsewhere. To that end, risk-taking and continual learning are at the center of the type of partnerships that we want to make going forward. So we invest in the issues, organizations, and people that other funders may shy away from. This can include startup organizations, new leaders and leadership structures, untested ideas, and new approaches to old problems. We see each of our investments as an opportunity to expand our learning and help inform the field. Collaboration. We value working in partnership with community organizations, funders, and government agencies working towards social change. We proactively look for opportunities to share lessons learned and best practices that can both strengthen our practice as well as help inform the work of other funders locally. Transparency. We surveyed our grantees, and one of the things that they really wanted to see from us was more transparency around how our decisions were being made and more feedback on applications. So that's something that we're really centering going forward, making sure that our decision-making processes are clear and providing helpful and consistent feedback to applicants and grantees. So make sure you hold me to that. And then lastly, hopefulness. While the problems we address are serious and challenging, we approach our work with excitement and a hope that our engagement will make a positive impact. So our current grant opportunities. The Beckner Advancement Fund has 3 main grant opportunities each year: internal grants, external grants, and the Shiley Rapid Cycle grants. So I'll quickly go over the 3 grants. Internal grants are grants between $500 to $5,000 that are made available 1 to 2 times per year to volunteer groups within All Souls Church that are proposing programs, actions, and initiatives that address a variety of social justice issues, including but not limited to environmental justice, immigration, food access, affordable housing, reproductive justice, and racial justice. These grants can be used for initiatives, special events, and to build the capacity of internal church programs. Most relevant to the folks on the webinar today are our external grants. Our external grants are grants up to $10,000 that are awarded to 501c3 nonprofit organizations, as well as fiscally sponsored organizations. The fund does not currently have a restriction on the operating budget size of applicants, but we do take budget size into consideration when considering whether to make programmatic or general operating support requests. First-time grantees and organizations with budgets over $1 million are encouraged to apply for programmatic grants to provide the fund the opportunity to deepen our relationship with you and learn more about your work. The fund will consider general operating support proposals from returning grantees that have received awards from us within the past 3 years, and small organizations with budgets below $500,000 on a case-by-case basis. We have a 2-step application process that begins with a pre-application that opened on January 25th. Pre-applications are reviewed by our committee, and a subset of those applications will be invited to submit full proposals. So after the application deadline in February, all applicants will receive either invitations for full proposals and/or declination letters no later than March 13th, 2019. There will be a slide later in the presentation that has all the dates to remember, so feel free to take a screenshot of that or it'll be made available by email after this webinar. But final awards will be notified no later than June 30th, 2019. Our grant requirements. All organizations that apply for Beckner Advancement Fund grants must be 501c3 organizations or fiscally sponsored nonprofits. They must primarily serve and be based in Washington, D.C. And priority is given to organizations that are located in and are primarily serve Ward 1 communities, which is where All Souls is located. It is not a mandatory requirement. We are looking for applications all throughout all 8 wards of DC, but there's just special priority given to folks in Ward 1. We will not consider requests from for-profit organizations. We don't fund individuals, capital campaigns, endowments, or sectarian programs that promote religious doctrine. As stated earlier, the fund is very interested in partnering with organizations that share a common set of values and ways of doing social justice work. Therefore, we prioritize proposals from organizations that do one or more of the following. Organizations that actively engage impacted communities, including but not limited to people of color, indigenous communities, immigrants, low-income people, women, youth, queer, trans, and gender nonconforming people, and individuals with disabilities in both their organization's leadership and decision-making. So what's really important to us is how power is shared and distributed within organizations. So not only who are the communities you serve, but how do they have input in the decision-making of programs and processes in your organization. As stated before, we're interested in organizations that address the root causes of social justice and equity and propose systemic solutions that create equitable opportunities for marginalized communities to thrive. We want this to be an opportunity for organizations to take risks and propose new and innovative initiatives. So if there are programs that have sat on the back burner for fear that funders wouldn't fund them, or that if you want to pilot test a new idea, those are the kind of things that we're really, really interested in investing in. We want to work with individuals and organizations that demonstrate a willingness to share lessons learned and collaborate with ALSO's members in their work for social change. Priority is always given to organizations that have existing relationships with us, but we're always interested in building new relationships as well. And as stated before, priority is also given to organizations that serve communities in Ward 1. Our final grant opportunity is Shively Rapid Cycle grants. So in addition to our external grants, Shively Rapid Cycle grants are grants that are up to $1,000 that are available to both internal All Souls groups as well as 501c3 nonprofits and fiscally sponsored organizations. They are small grants up to $1,000 to support emergency and or unforeseen opportunities. These funds should not be used for ongoing and expected organizational costs, but seen as rapid response funding for emerging, urgent, and or unexpected needs. Examples of appropriate requests could include, but are not limited to, funds to support actions or rallies in reaction to an unexpected policy change or an emerging neighborhood need, staff training or conference funding to build internal capacity to address an emerging or unexpected need, transportation or other operational costs for an urgent or unforeseen event or need, and things like that. So if you have any questions on that, you can put them in the chat box, and or I'm always available to have a short conversation to discuss if a possible proposal would align with our Shively Rapid Cycle grants. So a timeline of our grants and next steps. As you probably know, our external grant pre-application opened at the end of January, and all pre-application forms are due by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 25th. All pre-application forms should be sent by email to me at ascu.beckner@gmail.com. By March 13th, the Beckner Advancement Fund will notify applicants of decisions to invite or decline full proposals. Invited applicants will have between March 13th and April 17th to participate in our full proposal process. And between April and May, the full committee will be reviewing proposals and submitting our recommendations to the Board of Trustees. We should have final decisions and grant checks should be cut no later than June 30th, 2019. So it's question and answer time. I've been talking a lot and I'm sure there's some questions. So feel free to use the chat box to enter any additional questions that you may have. Be sure to use questions that might be generally applicable to all the folks on the webinar today. And if you have any organization-specific questions, you can always contact me by email, but you'll see my email on the screen, and or give me a call. My number is 240-391-8027. So without further ado, I will open it up for any questions. We have a question from Katie. She says, you mentioned that you prioritize new partnerships with orgs with larger budgets. What might make a smaller or newer organization stand out? Thank you for your question, Katie. So I apologize if I misspoke. We don't prioritize new partnerships with organizations with larger budgets. We're open to partnerships with organizations that are $1 million or above. But we really think our sweet spot are grassroots organizations. So an organization is more likely to be funded if they're actually a smaller or newer organization, because we think those are the best use of our grant funds, given how small our grants are. No problem. Any additional questions? Thank you so much for joining. Could you repeat the guidance? Rebecca asks, could you repeat the guidance about program versus general operating support? I definitely can. So the Beckner Advancement Fund, we do consider both programmatic and general operating grant requests. Which you apply to has a lot to do with your budget size and whether you've applied to us before. So first-time grantees and organizations with budgets over $1 million are encouraged to apply for programmatic grants because that really gives us a chance to learn more about you, build a relationship, and start to build some trust and goals that we have for one another. For organizations that have been funded by us within the last 3 years and or small organizations with budgets under $500,000 who might be doing a variety of things that are aligned with our values, but are small, have a small staff, those are organizations that we would consider general operating support requests from on a case-by-case basis. No problem. Other questions? I'm not seeing other questions come in, so I'll just give it a few more minutes. And as always, I'm available by email and by phone, and I'm always happy to come out to your organization if there are specific questions that you have about your proposal or any ideas that you want to shoot back and forth. So don't feel like this is your last chance if you don't have a question in the moment, but think of something in the future. Great. Thank you, everyone. So I think I will gift everyone back 40 minutes in your day. Thank you so much for taking out the time to join the webinar today. And I look forward to reading your proposals. Have a good afternoon and a good weekend. Thanks, everyone.